Every import company makes a Venom figure, from Amazing Yamaguchi to Mafex, and even SH Figure Arts. And they don't even do comic characters, but I still believe that the best Venom figures come from Marvel Legends. And with so many options to choose from already, Hasbro may have just released their best offering yet with the 85th anniversary Marvel Legends Venom. What's going on, folks? Kinda Collecting here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, if this is your first video, again, welcome. And if you've been here before, you know the drill, so what up, oos? Hey, we're on the road to 2K subs, so don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Or both. Or neither, I can't really control you. If you grew up reading the comics, you have a certain view on what Venom should look like. If you grew up watching Spider-Man the Animated Series, you'll have a different view. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Now, my vision of Venom stems from both the animated series and Marvel vs. Capcom, but this figure doesn't resemble any of those portrayals of Eddie Brock. Instead, what we get is a mixture of an old school and a new school comic vibe. Now, don't ask me any artist names specifically because I don't know, but the heads have two different designs to them that are modeled after various artists, both of which look great. The accessories are few, but for a character who mostly grabs and punches, it's expected, and it's all on a newer, improved frame which utilizes one of Hasbro's better, bigger body builds. Now, there's a lot of good and a little bad that comes with this figure, but enough speculation, let's dive in. Now, Venom's design is simple yet iconic, but with such a simple design, the details are all going to lie in the paintwork and sculpt, and Hasbro did a decent job with this figure. The texture throughout his head and tongue are phenomenal. The paint on Venom's symbol is clean and crisp, and with the sculpt doing a lot of the heavy lifting, this Venom is brawlic. His traps are trappy, his chest is huge, and his shoulders look like two boulders attached to his body. The silhouette on this figure is amazing. That being said, there's a lot of reuse with this sculpt, so if you have the previous 3-pack Venom with that dope-ass Eddie Brock head sculpt, a lot of this will look familiar to you, including the symbiote texture that's sculpted into his forearm. And that sculpting is a really nice touch. I just wish they would have extended that to the legs, which, speaking of, for some reason some parts of my figure's legs seem shinier than others, and I'm not sure why. It makes me think that somebody ate some fried fish, barbarian style, and then decided to be classy and use my Venom as a napkin afterwards. Greasy legs aside though, the details on this figure are good. Nothing brand new. And another issue I had with my copy is the paint on his smiling head. The red paint on the gums bleed into the teeth, which sounds like a nightmare to deal with at the dentist's office, but it also just looks insanely sloppy. And being that these were online exclusives, you don't really have any control over the sculpt that you get. Now, with all that being said, the details on Venom are still really nice, and surprisingly, the sculpt with his tongue sticking out doesn't have that same paint effect. Go figure. So for details, Venom gets a 4 out of 5. Accessories are light with this one, but Venom's one of those characters who doesn't need much, so let's take a look at his loadout. For starters, Venom comes with 2 pairs of hands. He's got a pair of mink minks and a pair of open claw hands. That's it. Part of me thinks that I should say it a little bit slower to draw out this segment. He also comes with 2 heads, one smiling sculpt and one open mouth with his tongue wrapping around his head. And I talked about it a little bit earlier, but the sculpts on both are great options, but the little imperfections in the teeth are annoying. Oh, gingivitis head at. With the small amount of accessories included, this would have been a great opportunity to add an Eddie Brock sculpt to my collection, and I think Hasbro dropped the ball in that aspect. Side note, I really like that 3-pack Eddie Brock head, so if you got any information on where I can get one, help me out, Oos. Other than that though, Venom has everything else that's necessary to the character. He punches, he grabs, he smiles, he tongues. So for accessories, Venom gets a 4 out of 5. One of the biggest selling points of this figure was its utilization of an updated, bigger body, which has both an inverted ab crunch and a torso swivel. Now, I'm not the articulation guy, and POAs mean absolutely nothing if Venom can't Venom. But before we go any further, let me say this. It is well documented that the head articulation is lacking. So I did take the time to modify the back of his neck. I took my little $20 Dremel from Walmart, lined it up, drilled it down, and it made a world of difference. Now the head can swivel, tilt, look down a good amount, and all the way up. Like that. Now when Venom's standing, he doesn't have to worry about looking up to too many people. But when you crouch him down, pulls him around, come on defense work, that's when you'll see the full benefit of this mod. His arms can hit a strong T-pose, full rotation at the shoulder, double jointed elbows, and hinge and swivel at the wrist. Venom also has really good butterfly movement both forward and backwards, so his hug game goes crazy. And taking a look at the main attraction, the torso swivel can do a full spin around plus tilt. Plus the ab crunch helps him lean forward and... Now the swivel at the torso is not a Super Boo level of swivel, but it does add a little more emphasis to his posing. But you're definitely going to get the most movement out of the ab crunch. That thing is phenomenal. Finishing up with the legs, and he can split about that far, swivel at the thigh, kick up that high, which is really good, back not so much, double jointed knees, and hinge at the foot with an ankle pivot. So overall, this is technically the most articulated Venom Hasbro has ever made, which is great. The neck articulation and torso swivel out of the box need a little work to be perfect, and if you don't do that mod to the neck, you're missing out, though you shouldn't have to do that. Especially since Hasbro has figures that have that cut already in the neck. So with that in mind, Articulation gets a 4 out of 5. Why does that sound so familiar? Now, let's see how many different ways we can get him to punch and claw. One thing I love about Marvel Legends is that they are not afraid to switch up sizes of characters, and for Venom, change is good. Now, let's do a few size comparisons. Kicking things off, we have what Amazon labels as the Marvel Hasbro Legends Series 6-inch collectible figure, Venom toy, premium design, detail, and articulation, ages 4 and up. And on the right, we have the Venom and Null 2-pack Venom. All three of these dudes are completely different heights and completely different styles, yet they are all still undeniably Venom. Next up, we have the Marvel Legends VHS 2-pack featuring the Black Air Force Energy Symbiote Spider-Man and Carnage, and these three look great together, even though this Venom is not done in the same style of the animated show. Keeping with the animated theme, and now we have the Marvel Legends animated series Spider-Man and a knockout version of the animated series Venom, because the authentic is stupidly expensive. And even with less articulation, I'd still take the animated Venom as my preferred style, but this KO is Loose Limb City. Switching companies, and here's how Venom stacks up with the Mafex 185 Spider-Man and Mafex 88 Little Feet Little Hands Venom. Now, I love how Spider-Man looks next to Legends, but I don't care how accurate Mafex is supposed to be to the comic, the size on the 88 Venom ain't it. Lastly, I wanted to spotlight three of Spidey's biggest villains. So here we have the animated series Green Goblin and the retro card Kingpin. So yeah, long story not long, Venom scales great, and he can slot into multiple shells as an end-all be-all option, if you want him to. So scaling gets a 5 out of 5. So overall, this Venom is a really nice upgrade to an existing body, but the figure's not perfect, and Hasbro's fight with consistency rears its ugly head throughout this guy, but they're definitely moving in the right direction. Now this thing was up for pre-order through Walmart for so long, and only for $25, which is an amazing price. Unfortunately, he's no longer available through Wally World, and on the aftermarket he's been marked up a little bit, but nothing astronomical. So with that in mind, Pricey gets a 4.5 out of 5, which will put the overall score at a 4.3. A good score for a good figure. Now if you're one of the 2 people who don't already have a Venom figure, then this will be a great addition to the collection. But if you already have any other previous Legends Venoms, you can afford to pass on this guy. Though my perfect solution would be to have this body and keep the half symbiote, half Eddie Brock head sculpt from the 3-pack. But I digress. That'll do it for this review, but y'all gotta let me know which Venom figure is your favorite, all brands included. Me, I'm still sticking with the cel-shaded version. That's my childhood, that's my boy. Sound off in the comments down below. And until next time, protect your peace, stay young at heart, and remember, we're all kind of collecting something. Peace.